Okay, you can see the top speed on the right ramping up. At some point you just bottom out and it throws you off. It's the biggest braking of the year. You're at the highest speed. Hey everybody, welcome back to F1 Friday's track analysis. And this week, of course, we are in the legendary historic Monza. I look forward to taking you around. This time I'm going to do things faster because some of you were saying I was repeating things too much. So I'm going to pick out a few details to focus on. And remember, you've got the top comment competition as always. And if you get top comment this week, then I'm going to send you a surprise gift. And the question is, since we're in such a historic track, the question for you to answer is, if you were an F1 driver, in what era would you like to drive in and in what car? I look forward to hearing your answers and explain why as well. All right, and now we're going to jump right into it and we're going to get going. I'm going to be going down the straight. As you know, into the first corner is the highest speed of the whole year. You can touch 360 kilometers an hour depending on which year. So it's absolutely crazy and we'll get going straight away. Okay, you can see the top speed on the right ramping up. So we're getting to 335. I don't know what's going on. We're a bit slow today. So braking, you got to look for your markers on the floor there and you got to remember them because it's very, very difficult. And so usually you remember this black patch because it's very wavy, so you can remember a patch and that's your braking point. It's the biggest braking of the year. You're at the highest speed, you're braking down to like 80 kilometers an hour. So it's one of the biggest, and Monza low downforce. So low grip in braking. So it's a pretty difficult one, very, very bumpy. And here's the trick now. I was going to take you through some details. The trick here is, in the early part of braking, usually over the bumps, you'll start to get some rear like locking, under rotation. And of course, you always want to avoid that because rear under rotation and locking puts unnecessary temperature on the rear tires. What you do is you can shift your downshifts to much, much, much later because every downshift is a tiny disturbance. So in this part, if you shift at the very end, so you stay in eighth, look, I'm sure, and in the very end of braking, you second. Then you move all the disturbance to the very end of braking, there's more capacity there, and you have a much calmer braking in the beginning. So that's the first trick there for you. Here, over the curb on the inside, and then maximum curb on the second, of course, missing the orange tossage curb here. Best traction is just straight line the steering wheel, and of course, miss that exit curb there. And there we go. And now we're gonna fast forward. So here you just have to be very clean through this corner. That's very important to keep the maximum speed. Now we're gonna fast forward to the next corner. Okay, here braking, same thing. Again, remember your markers either from the board or on the floor. Quite difficult again. And this is a bit faster chicane now. It's a third gear one. You have to keep it very late the turn and then turn in maximum attack on this curb. Maximum trying to get all the way to the orange, but don't touch the orange because it's gonna throw you off. And then here, special trick, well, everybody knows it, but the most grip is on that white, like concrete, tiny strip. So you're only gonna have like a third of the tire on there and a little bit too much, you're in the gravel, a little bit less, you're on the curb, there's no grip there. That's where the lap time is because you use the most track as well. Okay, now we go into the next. Now for these ones, again, setting change now. Remember, because we're braking into the corner, so we're unloading the front tire, so brake balance rear and engine braking up to help with that understeer in the mid corner to really get the car turned, get some engine braking up. It's like a tiny handbrake movement there in the middle of the corner, to get that car turned. So we need to do that. And then really deep into the corner, long braking deep into the corner, downshift very late to avoid the disturbance, fifth gear, over the curb, maximum there, maximum attack here, very short tap, and then big aggressive turn in, fifth gear, whoa, that was not good. But of course, run all the way over to the green, and here we go, DRS. Okay, now we can fast forward again. Now super difficult, you don't actually see where it is, so you have to go by memory. And you have to remember your marker point there for braking. And then here is really challenging because you have to kind of just flick the car into there. Again, remember, brake balance forwards again now because it's much more straight braking. Engine braking off as well now here because here you're going to struggle with the rear. And then you have to attack this curb. And the limit on attacking the curb is always how much bottoming you get. You can go a lot, but at some point you just bottom out and it throws you off. So you really need to remember, look where I've put the tires now. That's about the perfect spot to not get too much bottoming. And then here the exit is just important so that you get the rest flat. So if you can exit all the way there and still take the rest flat, then that's good to go. Avoiding the big curbs here and just getting a good run out, and that's it. And remember, Monza is the highest speed average track in the world. The records have been set here for average speed on the lap. And remember, in Monza, it's so crucial to get that little bit of downforce as well, because if you get a guy like 6 seconds in front, 5 seconds in front, that's optimum. Because on the straights, you still get some air breakage from the guy in front, so it helps you glide through the air. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt your cornering so much. So the air is not too bad in the cornering, and so like 5 to 6 seconds is best gap to the guy in front. That's a hugely important thing for the qualifying, and that's why you're always going to see such a chaos in qualifying, because people are trying to find that gap. Okay, this last corner here, pretty standard, really deep again, so a little bit rearwards on the brake balance, pretty deep, downshifting to 5th gear, I suppose, and then just, of course, super good run out, and important to maximize the track on the exit there, and then you head down and you're finishing the lap. And now we're going to jump straight into the fast lap. Ah! $198. So I was pleased with that one. That was my 4th flying lap. I think quite a decent time. Okay, now we jump into the Q&A session as per always. And question 1, how do you avoid dirty air? Sorry, Christian, it's not really your question. We kind of modified it anyways. So you avoid the guy in front. You offset yourself to his line. You can do it in corners too. When he's on the inside of the corner, you just offset slightly, go through the middle of the corner. We saw that in Silverstone. We're going to see it in Monza sometimes. That's the best way to do it. Question 2, say Stigla, did you prefer racing on top speed driven tracks like Monza or more technically focused tracks like Hungary, Monaco? To be honest, both is cool, both is different. Monza, what I loved about Monza is the technical challenge, because it's a completely different track, different to anything else. So you need to set up the car in a totally different way, because it's all about high speed and low speed grip in braking, and it's not like Monaco where you need grip everywhere, super high downforce. So it's a very, very different world. And also Monza, like, there's only right-hand corners almost. There's almost no left-hand corners that are of any importance. So also there you have a completely huge discrepancy between setup for left-hand side of the car, right-hand side, a lot more camber, for example, on the tires on the left-hand side. So that's something that I used to love a lot, because you could get a huge advantage out of it as a driver if you adapted to the track and made your setup better. Question 3, unfazed is asking, given that Monza has so many more right turns and left turns, how does the impact tire management, and how do you have to adjust your driving when your left tires are degrading much more than your right tires? That's a good question. So yes, you just have to, in left-hand corners, because you're using the right-hand side tires, you can just go flat out almost. Left-hand side corners, particularly the fast corners, like the Parabolica, the last one, you just have to take it easy, because that's where you're going to be wearing the tires a lot. But then when you're driving, you don't really notice so much that they're wearing differently left and right. It does all feel like one thing, and the tire degrading as one. So you just need to manage those right-hand side corners better for the outer tires. And then the last question, because we're only doing 4 this time. Dior Daves, we know that an open diff allows you to take a tighter line through the corners, but what exactly do you open your differential, given that you lose grip in doing so? So differential, as you know, is how open and freely the rear wheels can spin at different speeds. With a locked diff, it forces the rear wheels to spin at the same speed, which is not good for a hairpin, because in a hairpin, the inside rear wheel will be spinning much slower. It's almost not spinning at all, because you can imagine the car just rotating around on that rear tire, and the outside tire is spinning much, much faster in a hairpin. And so a locked diff would just literally not allow you to turn around the hairpin. You need to open it up to free up that speed differential. And then therefore, in slow speed corners, an open diff usually helps to get the car around but at the same time, it makes the rear then much more nervous for medium speed corners, because when speeds are different, when you're braking, it can cause disturbances, and it doesn't really give you that confidence going into corners particularly. So that's the trade-off, and that's why going into medium speed, high speed corners, you always lock the diff a lot more on entries and in mid corner. So that's the trade-off that you have to find, and that's why Monza is a great example where you can play around with diff settings, because you have those long straights just to optimize corner-to-corner car setup, and it can give you easily 1 or 2 tenths over a lap. That's it. Only 4 questions today. Thank you very much. Please watch out for when we're announcing questions again next time, so you can send yours in. I'm happy to answer them, and enjoy the race weekend. Bye-bye. And remember, give me a thumbs up, please. I would appreciate that for the video if you do like it, and subscribe so you don't miss out on some awesome content coming up soon. For example, I'm driving the Rimac prototype, the fully electric fastest car in the world. So subscribe so you don't miss out when that video goes live. Ruben is saying, I need to say it one more time, remember, top comment as well, you get a surprise gift from me, I'll send it to you. So just answer the question, if you were a driver, in which era, in which car would you love to drive most, and why? Good luck on that one. I hope you managed to get top comment. Thank you, bye-bye.